Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, people of all ages, welcome back to the Sticky Floors podcast. I am one of your hosts, CJ. I am joined by Mr. Will, and we are continuing with our Christmas movie theme. And tonight we are going to be talking about Gremlins. Now, I know some of y'all are thinking, Gremlins ain't a Christmas movie. Well, look, here's the thing, man. We're doing movies that either are about Christmas or happen at Christmas or around Christmas. So that's the thing. So like last week, for example, we did Red One, which is obviously a Christmas movie, right? Based around the time of Christmas. If you watch Gremlins, and we did, and we're going to talk about it, Gremlins is based around Christmas. So that's what we're doing tonight. We're going to have some fun with it. This goes back to obviously our childhoods. I'm sure many of the people listening, you've probably heard and watched the movie too as well. So we're going to have some fun with it. Yeah. Mr. Will, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Man, I'm doing good, man. We're in this Christmas theme, so you got to be festive, hence the red. You also got to be, a little bit more altruistic and benevolent. So trying to spread that goodwill cheer and everything. You know what I mean?
No doubt, man. And that's why I'm wearing my Steelers hat because, man, I had some Steelers bets that came in this week, man. So shout outs to people that had to pay me money. That's why I'm wearing this. That's why I'm wearing my Steelers hat.
Pay me my money.
Steelers was good to me this year, man. They gave some gifts, so thank you, Steelers. And that's why I'm repping my team, man. But man. So we're gonna get into Gremlins, right? 1984 Gremlins, and I might kick it over to you, Mr. Will, to give us the summary.
Yeah, 84 season was like the height of Reaganomics, man.
Was, right. Tear down that wall type of style, man.
Mr. Gorbachev.
Tear down that wall,
Yeah, man. You had all types of despots in power during that time.
Max Headroom, all of that. The 80s, man. Yeah. The original AI, Oof. Max Headroom.
Yeah. That's real talk right there.
RoboCop, like it was different. The 80s was different, man.
Yeah, they were pumping like Coca-Cola in your veins, Pepsi War, man, Chicken McNuggets with the caricatures, like the little Muppet type.
How about that, man?
Yeah, man.
How about it? That's when the McRib was out.
Oh, man. Dude, the frenzy that joint caused.
I remember, man, the McRib was great, man. Back when you didn't care about yourself, the McRib was like, that thing was... That was busting.
I don't even know if
kids would say 5 years ago, man.
Yo, I don't even know if that was real pork or not. It wasn't pork. Was that pork. Like spam?
It wasn't. Like it was tree bark.
Yeah, tree bark. Tree bark.
No, I'm joking. It wasn't tree bark. Man. It was a tasty meal. Because one day McDonald's might want to support us. It was a tasty meal. Thank you, McDonald's, for doing that. For providing that sustenance. McDonald's is deeply rooted in the community. But anyway, let's get into it.
Classic. And with that being said, Gremlins is a quintessential horror comedy fantasy that has become a seasonal classic since its release. The film begins with a gadget salesman played by Hoyt Axton as a quirky inventor seeking a unique Christmas gift for his son. He discovers a mystical creature called a mogwai in a Chinatown shop. The shopkeeper refuses to sell the mogwai named Gizmo, but his grandson does so with stern warnings behind his grandfather's back. These warnings include, as everyone knows, avoiding exposure to bright light, water, or feeding it after midnight. Inevitably, these rules are broken, resulting in the creation of a gang of gremlins that wreak havoc in the idyllic small town.
There it is, man. Yo, so first and foremost, right? The 3 rules. If you talk to anybody who is over 35, in America, anywhere, everybody knows the gremlin rules. Like you said.
Oh, of course.
Don't expose them to bright light. Sunlight kills them.
Nope.
Don't get them wet. And absolutely under no circumstances should you feed them after midnight. That's such a, on its own, that's a brilliant just setup for like a movie. Like, You get something, you get rules, and you know people are gonna jack the rules up
Of
completely.
course. Especially when you tell somebody not to do something, what happens,
They're
man?
gonna do it.
Inevitably,
They're,
they do the very thing you tell
they're
them not
gonna
to
do
do.
it. They're absolutely like even how Gizmo. Look, here's the thing, man. When you watch this movie, right, within the first like 15 minutes of having Gizmo, they break almost all the rules. Like
Every single
right
one.
away, the mom flashes the camera. It like almost blinds him, almost causes Gizmo to be blind. Then he goes upstairs. He shines a light in Gizmo's face, knocks him in the trash can. Then he takes Gizmo and puts him in the bathroom and sits him on the sink right by the faucet, the toilet. I'm watching and I'm like, dog, are you trying to get this thing messed up? Of course you are.
That's the crazy thing about it, man. Like in the bathroom, there's 3 sources of water: the toilet, the sink, and the tub. So why would you go there of all places?
It's so crazy. It's so crazy, man. But that's part of the brilliance of the movie, right? And it's like, you're watching it, and you know, you gotta like Gizmo. The design of Gizmo is just amazing, right? It's just one of those just and really cute things. Like it's like if there was like a cute movie show thing, Gizmo's number 1, Baby Yoda's probably number 2, right? And I remember like people wanting that little Gizmo. I had the little Gizmo doll. Like I had it. It was plastic. It was hard as hell. If you dropped it, it would like break your toe, right? But it was like it was cute. Yo, and people had that. People loved that little thing, man.
Yo, you got to remember, that's also during the height of the Cabbage Patch joints, the Garbage Pail Kids, Barbie, He-Man,
Transformers, so like, GoBots, all that stuff, man.
So the key was getting a toy. Every year it was like the thing. I don't know what it is now, because it's been a minute since my kids were like, I got to have this toy. But there was a go-to toy during that period. I would say like from 80 to about 88. Like there was a toy every season, and then it even shifted for a hot minute to game systems. Like you had to have Nintendo when it came out. You had to have ColecoVision, Atari, Sega, Game Box, GameCube. What was it? What was the Nintendo joint?
Game Boy. The Game Boy. Tetris.
You had like all
No, I mean like
all them joints.
It's a good point, man. And this movie, like you mentioned it in the beginning. So you said like this is considered a horror comedy movie, right? Which I never even knew was a thing, really, for real. It's kind of like reminds me of like your favorite genre of movies, which is killamedies, when like it's killing and jokes in it. Like that's your thing. But yo, this is a horror comedy movie, right? So I was like so fascinated when I looked. I was like, what is a horror comedy, right? So these are some of the movies that fit into horror comedies, right? So you got obviously Gremlins is one. Ghostbusters is another, and Ghostbusters and Gremlins came out at the same time in 1984, same date. Very interesting there. Critters, which I didn't think anything was funny about the Critters. Them joints were terrifying, man. Remember those little balls that whatever, like
little sinister rolling ball
porcupines, like evil porcupine kind of things. Those things, we'll never cover that show because I'm not watching that no more. The Lost Boys, remember that was a great. I really like that one.
I didn't think of that as a comedy.
Horror comedies. It's considered a horror comedy. This is one I think was Beetlejuice. The first Beetlejuice.
All right, that would qualify.
And then another example is like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie.
I thought that joint was like a B-roll, like, you know what I mean, like a bootleg. When I first saw it, I was like,
it's considered a horror comedy movie. And Gremlins is squarely in and a part of that. So, you know, like, you know, it's funny when you look at these movies now, obviously we're looking at it as like grown up. So when you're children, you look at it a little differently. Now I see it and I see like all these things in it, and I'm like, dang, is there like a hidden message in this thing? Like, like I got so look. So here's one of my things, right? Yo, I think that the Gremlins is actually a cautionary tale about safe sex, man. That's what I'm jumping. That's what I'm jumping in with, and here's why. This is my rationale. Right? So Gizmo is like all the stuff that happens before the actual sex part, right? Like it's like all the parts you enjoy. And by the way, this might be the first time that you probably can't have your kids listen to this, right? But like that's that part. But then the Gremlins are all the things that can happen if that goes wrong. The Gremlins are the,
Wow.
unexpected pregnancy, the STDs, and all the bad emotions. It's like all the bad things that come from the good thing. Like Gizmo is like the good, loving each other part. The Gremlins is like the going to the free clinic part of it. So that's where that is. Like that's what I think. Like I think it's like, and I know that's a stretch, right? But we're having fun. But
But it
but
works. It
but
does
it's
work
like
on a lot of
anytime you
levels,
think
though, man.
about something that was really beautiful and good, and then it becomes a
And
complete
now it becomes tainted.
monster, and it like, that's what it's. You remember back in the day, they used to call HIV the monster.
Yeah, no, that was real
They used
talk.
to call it that. So that's what I'm thinking, man. But I know you saw some things in there too.
I'm still stuck on
I'm
that
looking
one
at your
part, though,
face.
man. Because I'm still stuck on that one part. Like, wow, okay, it works though.
It
It
works.
works.
It
But
works. I got another one in a second though. So bad.
I, I I don't know what to say to that,
It's
man.
like
I I don't know what to say to that. Oh man, I will say. I'll say this. All right, let me gain my composure. All right. Um, Gremlins has a lot of adult themes, as we both have
mm-hmm,
acknowledged, and I think that some of the major themes, on a very serious note, are family or the lack thereof,
mm-hmm,
and it could be blood relatives or non-blood relatives, but basically that sense of familial. Um, Definitely want to speak on accountability,
mm-hmm.
or not
I'm not
having
having
any,
it.
or
Yeah.
just just shirking your responsibilities. Consumerism, like we were speaking about earlier, this was during that period where, like, you had to have the perfect
Mm-hmm.
gift. That's how the movie starts off.
Yeah.
He's a traveling
Mm-hmm.
salesman. His son is an adult,
Yeah.
man. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like
Like
I'm
when I think at one point I thought Billy was in high school, but then I realized, oh,
no,
Billy's like
no,
26 in this show. It's like
yeah,
not like
no,
26, but he's like 21. He's out of high school.
nah.
He's beyond high
He's a
school
grown
age,
man.
man. He's like,
Yeah,
he's like, what is that, failure to launch? Like he's like in that stage of his life. Like, dog, you need to move out of your mom's house, man.
you need to, unless he came home to help them out, because one of the things they talk about is his dad is a struggling
Yes,
inventor and
that is true.
salesman.
Yes.
So, a lot of the stuff that they're not able to do, maybe Billy shoulders that
Yeah.
load. And I'm thinking, like, if we just go based upon the actor, Zach Galligan, he was born in 1964. He was 20 years old at that time when the movie
Okay.
drops. So he ain't in high school.
Yeah.
He's should have been in college, or some other, like, formal training. He has a full-time job at the
That's
bank.
right. He does. Yeah.
I mean, think
He
about the
works at the
hours.
bank. Yeah.
Yeah, he works at the bank.
Yeah.
So yeah,
When you said, I keep thinking of New Jack City joint, the educated brother from the bank. But
Kareem
yeah, the
Akbar.
educated brother from the bank. But look, this is the thing though. I like what you said though about the idea of the capitalist part of it, because in many ways,
Yeah.
Kingston Falls, where this movie takes place, is like the America that America forgot, right? Small time America. There's not like a lot of logos. There's not like, this is before a lot of
No.
product placement in movies. Nobody drinking
Yeah.
Coke, all the machines are like whatever. So that's an interesting point though about that.
Yeah, well, I was looking at it like, this is Norman Rockwell-esque, you know what I mean? Where a lot of these movies will take place in small time America, which is usually synonymous for no quote unquote so-called minorities. Like, everybody knows everyone. And when you start looking at this movie, the one black person I saw, person of color, whatever,
Colonel Troutman,
is
man.
Glenn
It's Colonel
Truman.
Troutman, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
From a different
From
world.
a different world, Glenn
Yeah.
Truman.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to him
Yeah.
too. I mean, like, he's been in everything and anything under the sun, from like we mentioned, a different world to this, to, I mean, Cooley High, you name it. Like, this dude has been in everything.
Yeah.
When I say everything, I mean everything.
Yeah.
But other than him, I mean, now you start going on based off of recognition, like Judge Reinhold being the jerky,
Yeah.
which I can't, I find that odd.
Yeah.
I can't picture him being a jerk.
Yeah.
I think of him in Beverly Hills Cop
Yeah.
being Billy.
He's kind of like the yuppie character, right? What's
Yeah.
interesting is that nothing happens to him.
I
Even though
know.
he's a jerk,
Like,
nothing happens to him in this movie. Like the Gremlins should have got
you
him
would
at
think
that
he
point,
would,
right? They should have got.
and that's what I was about to say. Yup. I thought he was going to get some type of comeuppance. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
because they got
he,
Mrs. Deagle. They got her for sure.
oh yeah, man. And every time I see her, I just think of the Wicked Witch of the
How about
West. Like,
that?
I don't even see her. You know what I mean? But then once they go a little bit deeper into her backstory, look, she's a cat person, because you keep wondering, why does she hate
Right,
dogs? Everybody likes
right,
dogs for the most part that are in that
right,
town. You know what I mean?
right.
And then you see all the cats
Yeah,
around. Then you're like, oh, she's a widow, and she's a spinster,
yeah,
and she lives in this huge home.
yeah,
You know what I mean? That is basically a complete disarray and
yeah,
mess. So she's a
yeah.
hoarder. You know what I mean? So now you start thinking, and then the coup de grace is that her husband, or rather say her deceased husband, he was imprisoned for stocks embezzlement.
Oh, okay.
So now you're like,
You see her
oh,
backstory
that's her
now.
ties to the bank and all this. Yeah. So you start to see like this backstory of her being just a mean person.
Yeah.
And there's some like cause and effect and rationale as to why that is.
You think that? So that's interesting, man. Because like one of the things I was thinking is the Gremlins. The Gremlins themselves can be a avatar for whatever it is you hate. Like if you hate,
Oh yeah.
like if you hate kids, the Gremlins are very much like kids. Like hanging from stuff, plugging stuff in that doesn't work, like causing fires and everything. Like
Yeah.
if you ever like are around kids and they're really acting up, it's like Gremlins. Just noise,
Yeah.
asking for food all the time. Shout out to kids, we love y'all, but this is what it looks like. So like, sometimes
They're like this.
it bees like this, right? Right. But it's also like pets too. Like Mrs. Deagle, she hates kids because she don't care about the lady who's gonna get evicted from her house. She hates dogs.
And she has the 2 kids with her.
She hates
Yeah.
animals, right? Except for cats, right? Which is like that's already a weird thing. And then the Gremlins, like they go after her. Like they're like, "Oh, we gonna get vengeance on you." So,
There's a couple of things too within her and the character, the scenes that she's in. One, when she goes to the bank, I don't know who has the audacity to just cut lines like that. Like she just rolled up. Like what?
She's very privileged.
Two,
She was very privileged. So Deagle is the original Karen. That's what that means.
Some man. Two, who brings a dog to work and puts him on a rope leash?
Yeah.
And then all of a
Really
sudden, the dog bit her arm. They would put that dog down.
I know. Yeah, it's
Like-
true, man. It's true. No, Billy is not professional. He's not,
Like
he's
what?
not good at his job, man. He brings his dog to work. His dog escapes. Like Billy's not good at his job. That's why in the second one he's an artist. He left and went to the city, man.
But even still, she whispers to him like, "Hey, I could do far worse to your dog than me taking it to the kennel and then putting her down." And I'm sitting here like, who says that?
Wait, hold on, because I got a question about that. So I'm gonna get to that in the questions. I got one because when I thought about it, I was like, that's crazy, right? So to take it back to the Gremlins, right? So you got Gizmo, right? Gizmo is, like we said, super cute. Everybody loves Gizmo. Then Gizmo everybody knows Gizmo gets wet and you get these 5 other things, right?
Yeah.
So, I was wondering, and the first movie does it, and then the second movie brings it up too, man. Are all of these like other Gremlins? Are they like? Is this also like a play on the idea of like a multiple personality disorder? Like all of these things, the 5 Gremlins that always come from Gizmo, they're always like him, but not. They look like him, but one of them will be like real greedy. One of them is kind of stupid. One of them is kind of funny. One of them is sinister. Like they all have this kind of little thing about them. And then what's interesting is like everyone after those ones, they all degrade more and more and more from Gizmo. Did you notice that when you're watching the movie? Like, and as they make more of them, the quality of the Gremlin itself starts to decay into a more and more stupid Gremlin.
Well, see, here's the thing. It's not so much intelligence for me. I think it's more about the id and the ego and them just going into their base self.
They psychology joint tonight. Okay, all right, let's do it.
Because I told you, man. Like for me, I think every movie has serious tones, and I think that people get away with it by using laughter as the blanket to cloak these things in. So, like with these characters, it's not so much that they're less intelligent. Nah, I think if anything, they're hyper intelligent.
Wait.
I think it's
all
just
the Gremlins are hyper intelligent, or like Gizmo and Stripe are hyper intelligent? Because the rest of them will be like almost killing themselves all the time, man.
No, and that's what I think it is, because I think that they are exhibiting the circumstances of how frail it is to be in this society. So they resort to escapism. I'm serious, man. Do the math. Do the knowledge on it real quick. You got the one dude in the back that we talked about earlier, right? He's cloaked in darkness. He's smoking cigarettes. Everybody knew.
The bar scene, right? Yeah,
yeah, the
Miles
scene.
Davis one.
With this, because
Miles Davis, right.
and we all know the vices that music can bring with it. You know what I mean? When they talk about sex, drugs, rock and roll.
Okay.
So this dude is in the cut, smoking on a cancer stick. Right.
Okay.
And the other dude is trying to bring some levity with the hand puppets. So what does he resort to? Violence.
Yeah.
He woke up on violence.
Yeah.
And so he just breaks out the hammer and clocks dude in the head for no reason. Now the dude is trying to bring some happiness. It's supposed to be festive. It's Christmas, right? They're in the bar chilling, right? If you in the bar, you talking about, yo, let's get it. Nah, not this dude. Wait. He's like, yo.
So you're saying that like the Gremlins are actually like demonstrating different forms of like existence, and like they are manifesting like these really core singular elements of existence, like thoughtfulness or depression or comedy or anxiety. Okay, that's the hottest take of the whole thing, man. We should just end the show here, because that's like, I don't know I don't know how we're gonna stop. Like, I had like 20 pages of jokes here, but now I feel like I can't use any of them, because now
we could bring some lightness.
No, I can't do it now, because now like I'm like, dang, man, this gremlin is like thinking about like existentialism, like, I was like wondering why he was trying to get drunk at a bar, but okay, now I got it. It's deeper than that.
I mean, like,
it's deeper than rap.
He's escaping his problems. I mean, think about it. Strike leaves the party to go get candy.
Yeah.
So he's thinking about, the candy could be a parallel for some type of hard narcotic, because they call it booger sugar, you know what I mean? All that other exotic terms, you know what I mean? You can get some candy, you know what I mean? Like LSD and all that stuff is candy form. He goes.
That's amazing.
I'm saying he leaves the cut. He goes and he's chilling. He's got his whole goodie bag. He comes back and he sees his offspring, his progeny, his family go up and smoke. This dude drops everything and his mind automatically goes back to a dark place. But he was chilling before.
Yeah.
And he sees Billy and he's like, no, it's on. He doesn't bring a knife this dude brings a chainsaw.
Yeah, he's trying to chainsaw.
And he's like, he tried to chainsaw him to death.
Okay.
And then
got it.
He sets him up by taking his claws after he had him on the ground, and he's playing with him. So he could have finished Billy off multiple times. No, he's playing with him. Shoots him with a crossbow, brings out the gun, tries to shoot Kate in the face.
But isn't that okay? So all that's good, and I agree with all that. But isn't that saying like Stripe? It is like kind of like the most sadistic out of all of these things. Like, he's the like Stripe. Even when they're like the Mogwais, Stripe is the one that kind of orchestrates the, let's turn into Gremlins. Like, he sets that up.
Let's turn it.
He sets it up, man. He's like, let's become Gremlins. Like, that's like, we can't do enough damage in these little furry bodies that we're in, which is also kind of an interesting thing, because it means that the Mogwais know that they can become Gremlins. They know, and they know how to. Like, they know the rules, and they know how, and they're thinking about how to break them.
Hence my point. They're the ones that rip the clock wire and onto where it says 11 and some change. Yeah. They're the ones in the kitchen with the blender and toying around.
I love that.
And they turn it up. Like, they get ready to let it pop off when all of a sudden they see the humans come around. Like, they know, like, we don't mess with y'all. And it's for a reason. It's deliberate. I would equate them. You want to hear a hot take? I would equate them, especially since with Steven Spielberg being tied into this. They're the dark version of the E.T. Like, they're E.T. meets the evil Smurfs. We want to talk about like Snow White and stuff. Think about that, man.
Dwarfs,
like,
the angry dwarfs.
Yeah.
I like
angry dwarfs. Evil Smurfs, it all ties in. They all exhibit a certain personality.
I like that. No, that's a good one, man. I see that.
I
see that.
I appreciate
there's
that.
also so look, I know we were talking about this, but it's also like this, you got to think about the time, 1980s. There's a
Hmm.
lot of fear in America of like
Yes.
the threat of like a global nuclear war, concern about
Hmm.
um, you know,
USSR.
exports coming into the country. There's a whole thing in here
Hmm.
about how, gremlins were always in the little machines and everything, tearing stuff up.
Yeah, especially during World War
So you
II.
got that
Yeah.
too, right? So is there also a part of this that's talking about immigration and the fear
Oh,
of the other
definitely.
coming into, idyllic, like you said, America?
Yeah, of course. Hence why I was like, yo, they're the dark version of ET. Aliens. That term aliens or alien, foreigners, outsiders, someone that's not part of the collective. So you have to, as is the truth in all things, in order to kill someone, first you have to kill their name. Once you kill their name, then you can kill the person. And so the best way to do that is through movies. I mean, like, yo, I'm going to charge you on top of demeaning you. I'm going to charge you at this time, it was like $5 to come in and see it on repeat. Not only am I going to exploit you by hiring cheap labor outside of the country or whatever have you, but I'm going to ridicule you and mock you with the disparaging images, which we all know a picture is worth 1,000
Yeah,
words.
that's interesting.
That's hence why.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
it, yeah, I mean, like it's really interesting when you look about like what the town of Kingston Falls is
Mm-hmm.
like, what the demographics is, what the gremlins are
Yes.
doing, who they're
It's a
attacking,
very sleepy
what they're
town.
attacking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very much like that, man. It is. That's interesting. Like, that's the thing. Like watching it, I think we watch it as a kid. It's like,
Mhm.
what are these
Oh,
things?
these themes go over
What
your
are these
head.
things, right? I
Yeah.
think you watch it as an adult, you look at it a little bit differently. But
Of
there's a
course.
lot of validity to what you're saying in terms of like the idea of the movie making this larger social point, right? And
Of course.
the guy who owned Gizmo, I think it was last movie name,
Yeah.
kind of hits on a
Yep.
lot of those points. I know that was someone that you want to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to quote him directly. He says, and I think this summarizes the movie as a whole. You do with Mogwai what your society has done with all nature's gifts. You do not understand. You are not ready. And he says this repeatedly.
Yeah,
But he also gives a glimmer of hope when he says, oh, Mogwai wants to say something to you.
yeah,
And, Gizmo says, bye, Billy. And he says, maybe one day. So he leaves you with this sense of hope. And it also opens up coincidentally for the sequel.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
hey, all of a sudden this dude is just walking off into the sunset.
yeah,
He appears out of nowhere. And that's the thing, the shaman mysticism of a so-called Asian person, or
yeah,
what they used to call demeaningly the Orient
yeah,
or
yeah.
Oriental. And all of a sudden he appears out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
in their
Like, come
house.
on, dude, really?
In
Yeah,
their
I don't.
house,
Oh,
right? Like a specter at the end. Yeah, that's crazy.
dude, are you serious right
Yeah,
now? He's got the one messed up
yeah.
eye. Like, come on, man.
It's some strong racial overtones in that. But there is
Yo,
like a message in there about how the modern America, whether or not it can appreciate any
mm,
natural thing in antiquity. Because, one of the things that's interesting about the Gremlins and even the Mogwais, you never get a backstory on them. Because they don't ever explain
no.
to you like, yo, they come from here or they come from this or they're
Mm-hmm.
descendants of that. It's just there. It's just this
Mm-hmm.
thing. And obviously the older Asian guy, he knows how to take care of it. He knows how to keep it from being a problem. But he also knows that the American can't do that. It is gonna mess it up.
No.
And of course that's what happens.
Well, that's the whole thing in America. And I think Texas is the epitome of this. Do it bigger, do it loud, quote unquote, better. Or nobody does American better than the American. The bravado, the arrogance, the reassuredness. Like, hey, I can go into anywhere. You need to speak my language, even though I'm in, East Jabib. That whole taking over, and the savior complex. Like, Billy is the one who still remains calm no matter what happens. I mean, how many people would have popped off at Miss Deagle for him coming at her, she coming at him like that?
Yeah.
Or the way that the bankrupt, I forget the older gentleman with the glasses who
Yeah, the
was
guy who
next
runs the
to
bank.
Judge
Yeah.
Reinhold's. Yeah, like all these slights, like you don't know what you're doing. Like this dude still remains
Yeah, he
pleasant.
does.
When he's getting insulted at the bar,
Yeah.
he's still civil and calm. It's just
He's a
like,
great protagonist. Billy is a great protagonist. And
yeah.
he also has like a lot of real courage because
Mm.
there's a good chance that I would have just left the town. like,
Oh yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
like after Strike jumps in the swimming pool, I'd have been like, all right, well, y'all
Oh
got this one.
yeah. This is
I'm gonna go to the next town and call the police, and they're gonna come in here and kill all these things because this problem has gotten way bigger than me.
no. The crazy thing is when Billy actually tries to go to the police,
Oh, that's
tries to
funny. Yeah,
warn
yeah,
them,
yeah.
and he's like, "Oh yeah, really, really? Like, what officer do you know would take something like that slight and think you
I would
crazy?
think he was crazy.
Like
I would think he was crazy.
they have to
I
investigate
would
when you come
I
to
would think he was crazy. Like if somebody wait,
when
wait,
you break."
if somebody, let's say somebody at your job came to you and was like, "Yo, I got these green monsters in my apartment building and they're tearing everything up." Would you believe them saying that?
Honestly, CJ, this is not just for show or the program. I would, man, and you know why? This is the honest to God truth, man. I have seen too many bizarre things that I cannot explain with so-called rational, thoughtful,
Really?
insightful, and yo,
All right, wait, because
I
you get
don't.
into a whole nother podcast now. We about to do
No, I'm just saying with reference to
Sticky Floor
this.
Supernatural combo.
Nah,
Supernatural show starring Mr. Will.
nah, yeah,
I'm
right.
not gonna be on that
Would
one. That's
take
gonna
you,
be you, you by yourself, man.
would take you beneath the
Nah, yeah,
surface.
you could
No,
introduce Stephen King one week and then somebody else the next.
it's just that when he goes and he sees Deputy Brent,
Mhm.
what is his name, Deputy Brent Fire, and he sees the sheriff, and he says to him, "Look, I know you're gonna think I'm crazy. What person starts off a sentence like that?
Somebody who knows
Typically,
that
they'll
you
just
what they gonna say is crazy. That's what
no,
everybody says.
but
I might
typically
have
it's a
said that to
rational
somebody
person.
today. Today I'm about to say,
Yeah,
hey, I know
but
this is gonna sound crazy, but
and when you preface your statement like that, you're usually trying to highlight the fact that, look, I'm in, I have full possession of my cognitive abilities.
yes,
I'm being rational.
yes,
I'm of a
yes,
sane and sound
yes,
mind. So when I tell you this statement,
yes,
understand, I too would be skeptical
yes.
at the very
And here's
least.
the thing,
But
but
yet,
here's the thing. Sometimes people that are crazy actually do lead in with that.
true, true, true,
crazy,
true.
crazy
Can't
people
I can't.
also know that they could sound crazy when they're telling something. But God, that's not
But
the
what
point.
crazy
Okay.
person? But what crazy person do you know breaks out the bag and shows them
Well,
this,
that
and then the guy's still sitting there like,
the thing is,
why don't
like,
you? The
I know,
the sheriff says to
I
him,
know,
take Mogwai
yeah,
home, sit by the
yeah,
fire, and enjoy
yeah.
and unwrap your
Yeah.
presents.
Listen, I thought everybody's reaction to Gizmo was just a little bit too calm to begin with. Like
Oh,
throughout the
first of all, I'd
movie,
be like, what is
right.
that?
And look, I'm gonna get into that in the hate, but like throughout the movie, I just think that like people's reaction, like, could you imagine in real life, somebody shows you something like that in their house? I'm gonna get out of that house. Like, there's no way you got something that looks like a dog and an elf and a
Talking to
bunny
help.
and a fox all together, and it can talk,
Got bat
and
ears.
it can like play music and sing, and it's a lot. No, bro, that's no. Come
Yeah.
on, I'm not coming to your house if
First
you
of
got
all,
stuff like that. Like it's certain pets, I'm not gonna come to your house if you got. Forget of that thing.
but that goes to my point. When this dude starts playing the flute and you like, yo, these things get evil, I'd be like, yeah, I could see
Yeah.
that.
Well, listen.
Because
All right, so let's get into it, man, because we by the point to give the cake and hate, because it's
yeah.
some things about that I got. So
And shout out to the deputy in that joint, Jonathan Ray Banks, who's in almost every movie
okay.
like that you can think of. The guy who's like, Frank, why can't I
Oh
drive?
yeah, yeah.
He's in
He's the one. Look, he has a
he
real reaction, man. He's like when he sees the Gremlins attacking Santa Claus, he's like, okay, yeah, I want to go back to the station. Like, I'm good.
that's a real
I'm good. The protect and serve joint, that's done. I just want to get back home
no,
now.
that's out the window. I'm protecting and serving
Yeah,
me,
now
my
that's look.
interests.
This is gone beyond with this town. This resources get
Mhm.
maintained, man. But all right, man. So let's get into the cake.
Oh yeah, and shout out to Corey Corey Feldman, who's in this joint,
As the
yo.
little kid, yes, yes. As the kid,
Yo,
yeah. A little quick
I
demo.
forgot that all these people were in that
By the
joint,
way,
man.
he spills water on Gizmo, creates these 5 other things, and just keeps it moving. Like it was all right. I would have kicked him out of my house. Do you know how many problems you just caused, brother? Yo, nobody's like, I mean, like this is the 80s, man. Let's think about some basic stuff. Now we gotta feed 5, 6 of these things, like, dog, because you
And he
can't.
asked him,
because you can't
He
control
has to,
yourself,
but he
man.
take one.
And then he like, you're never and then isn't he too young? Isn't he too young to be hanging out with Billy anyway?
You would think
Billy
so.
is, like you
I mean,
said,
this
Billy
kid's
is
shooting a
20. Billy's
slingshot.
23. Like he's 16. It's like what? That's weird.
Nah, I think he's younger
That's
than
weird.
that,
They
man.
need to do something. But fine. That's a different movie too. All right. So look, so here's my here's my cake, man. There's a couple things about this joke that I love. Number one, I love the slow burn on the Gremlins. And what I mean by that is a lot of the movie goes by before you actually see a gremlin.
Yeah.
I watched this on HBO Max, and I'm watching it, and when I first saw the gremlin, it's like 48 minutes into the movie. So you don't really see it. Like there's a growing sense of dread that the movie kind of builds up, but it doesn't like show you everything too early. And I appreciate that. So I thought that was a good point. Also, I love the Gizmo design. Like I talked about at the beginning, Gizmo is adorable. Like I tried to watch with my daughter, and I thought she would be impressed. She wasn't, but I was impressed as a child. Kids today, they're different. So I love how the mom fights like the 4 gremlins off in the house, like putting one in the blender. She puts one in the microwave, stabs another to death. Then Billy chops it one, says, "Oh, by the way, this is supposed to be a movie where kids are supposed to go to." This scene is terrifying.
Well, that was the whole debate on PG-13 or not. They didn't really have a PG-13 section.
They had to get one after this because that thing was ridiculous, man. And then the last thing in cake, man, and this is gonna be like the first ever something that's gonna be in my cake and in my hate at the same time. All right, Kate's Christmas story, right? So Billy's girlfriend, Kate, or his wannabe girlfriend, becomes his wife in the second one. She tells a story about how her father, dressed up as Santa Claus, broke his neck and got stuck in their chimney, and they didn't find him until like a week after Christmas because his body started stinking, right? And that's why she doesn't like Christmas. Now, the reason why this is in my cake is because that's a great reason to not like Christmas. like if I like, after that, you join the Nation of Islam. Like you should become a Muslim and get all together. Like I get it. Like don't be a fan of Christmas. That this person is gonna practice Kwanzaa, Hanukkah. They're not ever practice Hanukkah. Never are they gonna practice Christmas or celebrate Christmas again. I just thought that made great sense because in the beginning you don't know why she doesn't like Christmas. Then you find out you're like, that makes good sense. I understand. That was a good story. So that's what I got for the cake, man. What you got on the cake?
Well, as usual, I'm always going with the cast. We highlighted some of the individual cameos and appearances. Yeah, man, like this brought back my childhood, and I'm like, I remember such and such. Oh, he's so that felt good. You know what I mean? To see these guys again in their glory, and even before becoming famous. I definitely like the complexity made simplistic, and by that I mean like this is a complex story made into a very simple means of explaining certain themes, and that also is another part of my joint, like the major themes in throughout this movie. I give you one off the top. Just having a moral compass in the story. That's Billy. He's the innocence, and he represents everything that's good and wholesome. Even the way he flirts with his future wife, Katie,
very wholesome.
Their interaction. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like if a dude like that came to my house and he was like, yo, or a young lady came to my house like that and was like, yo, can I date your son or whatever? And they were like that, like you would welcome them in. You'd be like, hey, you know what I mean? You're one of the part of the family. It
seems very that is true.
Yeah, real safe. Like he'll have your daughter home at 10 o'clock, not 9:59, not 10:01, 10 o'clock. He said, you'll be on the floor. He'll be right there on the steps.
And he'll fight 100 monsters in the sound to save his dad.
Oh, no question. No question. I think the fact that these hyperactive gremlins also, like we were talking about, they are a representative of society and consumerism. And by that, I mean, as they become more grotesque, they talk about the fact of how hoarding and overconsumption leads to uncontrollable and undeniable problems that develop in the future that may or may not be foreseen. So just things like that throughout the movie that are reinforced. It as a child, I didn't get it. But as an adult now, I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I get it. There can be something behind all this. And I don't like horror movies. Like, I hate horror movies. You won't hear us talk about another horror movie after
Maybe.
this. If I have my way.
Maybe. But that's a good point about the overconsumption, because there's a scene where the gremlin is like drinking beer and you see his stomach getting bigger, or like how they're always eating candy, like kids, or how they're like one was like almost electrocutes itself trying to like mess with the stoplights and everything. Yeah, they're like angry little kids.
Dude, one is swinging from a fan for no reason.
Stuff
the other one is doing the flash dance, break dance.
Yeah. Well, that's the only part the movie starts getting funnier, but that I'll save that for a second. I'll save that.
And then last but not least, come on, man. Besides the 3 rules, everybody remembers the theme song.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
It's a great song. Yo, I was thinking about that when I was watching it. Yeah. It's music that when you hear it, you definitely know what it's from. It's like Star Wars.
Yeah, man.
It's like the Michael Myers music. It's like you hear it, know exactly what it is.
You automatically know. And I just think, because it's like, even with that music, when you hear it, I can tolerate it all for so much. After a while, it becomes like nails on a chalkboard, because it's like,
because of the tone, the more you scratching of it.
Yeah. Because the more you indulge in something, it doesn't lead to fulfillment always, but to destruction. And that music is usually when those dudes are about to get it popping. Like, they're usually about to bring terror.
Absolutely. Good points. All right. Those are good, man. All right. So these are the things I did not like as much, because, I'm trying to fit the month of December. All right. So this is the first thing I talked about a second ago. This movie is considered a horror comedy. It's not, to me, it's not funny at all. like it's not funny. Like, I know it tries to be, and you can try to be funny, but not be funny. To me, it's a straight horror movie until the bar scene. And in the bar scene, when the gremlins start dressing up and doing different things, I think that's when they're like, oh, this movie needs to be funny. Because right now, it's about these monsters that are killing people in this neighborhood, right? Because, like, they done killed Deagle, they killed Santa Claus, they ate the old man's arm off at the
mailbox.
They killed Colonel Troutman. Like, these things are killers, right? And then at the freaking hour and 15-minute mark, they're like, oh, let's make them be funny now. Like, at this point, they're malice murderers. It's not funny.
He said that's right.
And so, like, no. I think I don't know, maybe I just don't like the genre of comedy horror. Maybe that's just not my thing. But this movie just always felt more like horror to me. And especially, and even as an adult, as a kid, I thought they were scary. Like, now as an adult, I'm like, this is not funny. But all right, that's my one hate there. So my next thing is like all right. So, and there's 2 things I want to tie together. At what point, like, would you be like, oh, I'm going to have to kill this thing before this becomes a problem? To me, once the things are in those cocoons, when you look at the cocoon itself, like, there's no chance that I'm going to let that sit in my house. Like, that big, nasty green thing, like, whatever comes out of there is not going to be positive. Like, I know that just based on what it looks like. I understand that that's got to move the movie forward. So that's a little bit of a nitpicking thing. But I just always thought, like, the way that they transform into that thing, I absolutely would have known right then that there's a problem there. And this brings me to my next point, right? The way that Colonel Troutman dies. Now, here's the thing. And this is like for people who may know or may not know, right? It's hard to kill Black people, right? Like, we're hard to kill, right? Like, and a lot of people tried. A lot of people tried, right? And that's not to say we don't die, because we do, right? But we're really hard to kill. And the reason why is because we have a really great sixth sense awareness of when something is wrong. Like, if you're ever around Black people, we think anything's wrong, we immediately flee the scene. So Colonel Troutman's death makes no sense to me, because there's no chance that I'm going to be in the dark chasing around something that just hatched from this big green monster blob at my job. Just not going to happen. Like, no matter what job you're in, if you're at a job ever and there's something like that, I guarantee you all the Black people will have left the building before whatever is in there comes out. So that's that last one. And then the last thing, my last thing, hatred, right? Kate's Christmas story. So I told you I like it from the king side, but then her story is so sad. that it's like in the middle of the story, you're listening to it and you're like, what? Like, your dad broke his neck falling down the chimney on Christmas and you didn't find him until his body was stinking? Like, that's horrible. Like, if you're out somewhere and you were talking to a woman and she told you that story, you would get up and leave. You wouldn't continue to. There's nothing to talk to her about at that point. There's nothing.
All compassion is out the
There's
door.
not. You can't say like Happy Christmas Hanukkah Kwanzaa, and then you just walk out. Like, that's it. There's no more conversation. It's such a crazy thing. And in the movie, it's like a scene. It's like there's already all this chaos happening. Even Gizmo's face is like, what is wrong with her, man? She got real problems. Like, she needs therapy. You can see it on Gizmo's face. He's thinking at what he's looking at. So, just like, it's one of the best, worst Christmas stories I've ever heard in my life, man. That's what I hate.
Oh, that is crazy. That is crazy. That is wild. This is one of the worst Christmas stories.
It really is, man. Like, what do you do with that? And come on, man. You know that you can't kill black people like that. We're not gonna go out. Gremlins are not gonna get us. At your job, be honest, at your job, if somebody brought in that thing, that cocoon thing, you're gonna leave. You're like, I'm taking the rest of the day off.
Here's the wild things. First of all, kudos to CJ for bringing out some of the joy, man, from this movie. Wow. Thank you, CJ.
I'm here all night.
I gotta say, one, he's here all night, folks. Standing appointments only. Standing room only. It's actually Colonel Taylor, Bradford Taylor. You're thinking of Colonel Troutman from Rambo.
Oh, Colonel, I've been calling that wrong the whole time. Dang. Yeah. Colonel Taylor. Sorry. Shout out to Colonel Taylor. My bad. I got messed up. Colonel Taylor, yes. He wouldn't
I knew what you were talking about.
Die like that.
I knew what you were talking about.
That's not going to happen.
Two, there are so many jokes about black people running for no reason and other black people running like, yo, you started running. That's why I ran.
That's what I'm saying.
Three, and this is the foreshadowing aspect, when Corey Feldman's character is like, hey, Mr. Such and Such, and he tries to explain to him, like, he has a question or whatever, and he's like, make sure it's in red, and he's basically shooing him off. That's when you knew something bad was going to happen. Yeah. And then especially it doubles down because he had previously injected him. I know,
took the blood from the gremlin.
And took the blood from, and like the gremlin wasn't going to remember that. 3, he's alone in the room talking about, remember me? Yeah. Nobody does that.
Yeah. That's not how black people aren't going to die like that. We're not going to do that.
Nah. So I definitely rock with you on the whole, like, his death was silly and uncalled for. And at first I was like, nah, I don't really have any hate. You know what? Nah, CJ won me over on the dark side on that one.
To the dark side. You know what? You don't know the power of the dark side, man.
You don't know the power. Like, I really, you know what? I'm really not rocking with that joint. Certain things that just didn't make sense though is when they showed the blender scene when like the orange juice was everywhere. To me, that was like, yo, something bad's gonna happen in this kitchen. Like, they kept making it a point that everything malfunctioned in the kitchen. And so I'm like, I guess they have to tell that in order to kind of like explain certain things and to give it a clearer, more presentable image as far as the dysfunction in the family and how they're trying to just get by. So I guess I can rock with that. But it still left me like uncomfortable. Like, why doesn't the wife just say, yo, enough is enough?
Oh, you're talking about
like, I can't, like, I can't live like this.
She's standing by her man. That's the 80s. You got to do that, man. It's not like now, man. Back in the day.
She lied to, he called her on the phone. She lied and said, no, it wasn't the problem with the phone. It wasn't the phone. It was the phone.
Yeah, so if we're getting into that, right, this is something that I was trying to think about. Okay, this movie takes place Christmas, right? Like Christmas Eve or something, right?
Yeah.
It's snow everywhere. When the gremlins get in the snow, shouldn't that snow melt and become water that would make all the gremlins more gremlins? Like, wouldn't it just automatically just be more and more and more gremlins? And then the other thing is, like, how much light is it that it takes to make them afraid? Because, like, they're in a bar, there's light from the TV, there's light from the lights.
And that didn't bother them.
They're playing video games, doesn't bother them. But when she puts
I actually had that Donkey Kong game
when
too.
She puts
that blue joint, I had that
in front of one of them, it scares them away. Like, what's the what is the rule? Like, even in the movie, it just kind of goes all over the place. But all of that
Yo,
said, my man
the
from
reflection from the mirror is what you were
right,
talking about before.
right. But all that's to say, yo, my man would not have died that way, man. Not there's no
No,
black person's gonna go out like that at their job, man.
I don't know. Like
That's just not gonna. That's just not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. Don't worry about it.
no, once CJ brought that up, folks, that's the part that made me upset. Oh, and it was Mr. Roy Hansen. That was his name of his character.
Okay,
Dr.
Roy Hansen.
Mr. Hansen.
Yes, yes.
So like seeing him go out like that left a bad taste in my mouth. Now that CJ's making me rehash
It's
it.
just not. Yeah, it's just not gonna. We're not gonna do that, man. But anyways,
Nah,
let's
not at
get into the questions, man. What you got, man? Let's run them down. I know you got some good ones.
all right, so here we go. Let me go to my joint. Why are Gizmo and Strike the only ones with names?
Yeah, because I think they're like the only. Well, so this is a good question. In the movie, they're the only really distinct ones. Like the rest of them, kind of even as Mogwai and then as Gremlins, they all kind of blend in. What's interesting is that in the second movie, as you get like the various ones, they start to become like smart gremlin, spider gremlin,
Yeah.
female gremlin, vegetable gremlin. Like they're like bat gremlin. Like they're all kind of like more of them in that way. But Stripe is like the shadow version of Gizmo. Like Gizmo is like the sunlight version, and Stripe is like the bad version of it.
That's tough for me, but I'll rock with it, man.
Yeah,
I'll rock with it. Are the Gremlins evil?
So well. So here's the thing, man. It is what it is. It's a creature of destruction, right?
All right.
I imagine that like that's a good question. Well, I never really thought about that. I never thought about that, man. I mean, like as a creature, if it's gonna be, it is what that is its name. No, it's not. That's just its nature. The gremlin is just a gremlin. It isn't like I don't think the gremlins are conscious enough to like want. I think like after Gizmo, I think all the Mogwais will become gremlins because that's their nature. They're going to do that. So I don't think you can blame them for doing that. It's just the reason why you shouldn't get them wet to start with. Don't get the damn thing wet because that's going to be a problem.
I dig it, man. I dig it. Okay, so we talked about it off and on a little bit, skirted around it, but would you say that Kate's Christmas confession is sad or is it funny? Like, how does that change your opinion of her and Christmas?
It's both, man. It's sad. I don't know if it's funny, but it's sad. Where she tells the story is funny, and Gizmo's face is funny. Because like I said, Gizmo's like, she needs therapy. Like immediately. You can see he's like, yo, I've been out here a long time. She needs help. Like, if Billy would have called her and said, y'all think about marrying Kate, you would have said, yo, get her some therapy first before you do that, because she's got some major damage going on there. So it's both. My answer is both.
Oh man. So speculatively speaking, what are the origins of Mogwai?
Yo, I don't know, man. Look, I went and did some internet research, and apparently they're supposed to have been created like on an alien world or something by a scientist, and then they come to Earth, and that's kind of like how they got there. So there's a story for it. They said at one point that they were going to try to build that in, but it just didn't fit somewhere. So it's interesting when you said the part like the ET part about it, because there is definitely alien nature to it. But they never really get into that. And I think actually that's a good thing, because it keeps some mystery to it. I think I like that they never really solved the mystery of where the gremlins come from, and even why do they always operate like that.
Yeah. No, that's tough right there. I like that. Is the movie racist and or culturally insensitive?
It's definitely like has a lot of the stereotypes in it that you would expect for the 80s to be presenting and promoting, right? Is it racist? Is a little hard for me. I would say I'm not gonna say yeah for that one. No, it's not saying no, but I'm saying I'm not gonna say yeah, because I'd have to really think about that one. I think it definitely has. We talked about that with like the Asian guy, and that's just the whole Chinatown thing, and you know, the total lack of diversity of the city, you know, like
And are the Gremlins like, you
the
know,
Gremlins,
are you said that they're everything that you hate.
whatever it is you
And
hate,
you
the Gremlins are that.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you
Yeah.
hate the idea of people that don't look like you, it's Gremlins. You know, if you hate
I'm just
dogs,
saying.
it's Gremlins. If you hate cats, it's Gremlins. If you hate children, it's Gremlins.
This movie has a lot of hate
It
in it.
does. It
You ever
does.
notice that?
It does.
I didn't realize
It
that at the
does. Maybe
time.
that's why I picked it.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's why.
Maybe. Maybe. This was an acceptable means of you to demonstrating hate when you had professed, you know, hey, look,
keep it positive.
it's Christmas time.
Keep
Keep it positive. Yeah. And then last but not least, if Gremlins can't get wet, how is Gizmo clean and not smelly,
What
man?
a great question. I thought about that when they said it. I'm like, this thing has got to be stinking after like a week, right? Like, how does that work,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't make any sense. Like, I know what it means in the series. It's like, that's a great, I don't know. It's got to smell terrible after like, and they're eating chicken and everything. Like,
yeah.
You know, it's gotta not be working. So yeah, I don't know, man.
Something's gotta be happening.
Something's wrong. Something's not working out there. So yeah, man. So that's that part. All right. So let me get into the other part. I got questions. All right.
All right, shoot.
All right. So here are my questions. I got a lot of them this time. Like normally I give you one or two, but this one I got a couple. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So here's my first question, and this deals with Mrs. Deagle. Okay. In what part of America can you actually threaten to kill a dog and get away with it?
Nowhere.
No. Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Nowhere.
Thank you. That's Mrs. Deagle is never going to get along with that. Okay. All right.
No, that's not happening.
All right. No, I asked a question about the snow. All right. So here's my question about Gizmo. Is Gizmo the first of the things, or is Gizmo an evolution of the Mogwai? Like, does Gizmo ever create another Gizmo, or does Gizmo only create Stripe, and all the other crazy gremlins? I don't know if there's an answer to this, but I'm just wondering.
I think it's paradoxical. I mean, even worse than the chicken or the egg, because he's civilized, yet he's innocent. So like, you can only become intelligent, you know, educated, unless you go through some things. That's how you develop wisdom. Yet at the same token, he has that innocence of like being fresh out the womb and, you know, new to everything. And he's full of wonder and excitement. He's inquisitive. So I really can't say, man. I just know that he always is. I think of it like you mentioned in our last episode, like he is an agent of, you know, whatever, goodness, benevolence, altruism. He brings joy and spreads good times and timeliness amongst the people that he's surrounded by. Yet there is the flip side to the coin of that, where, things can go astray and, you know, all things run amok if you allow it to.
So Gizmo is the knowledge of good and evil. It's
I think so, man.
All right.
I think so.
There it is.
I think so.
There it is. Shout outs to Christmas time, biblical references. All right. All right. So my next question is, okay. So it's 2024. Why hasn't this been remade or turned into a streaming miniseries? Like, to me, there's so much potential here. Why hasn't somebody picked this up and done something with it?
I think that some people have tried, and then they had to deal with the bureaucracy known as Hollywood. And I think it's like CJ has this saying called pizza burger, preserver. And I think it falls in that line where it's like they don't want our money. I think this is a ripe, fertile ground where, you know, you get the right screenplay or director, or, you know what I mean, like creative background, whatever have you, and, you know, you could really make this into something. You could really go deep into the whole horror shtick, or you could have a combination of comedy or drama and suspense. I think you could have it all in one.
Yeah, I think,
you know, there's the budding love story.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you said about the horror part. I think if you redid this, it would be a straight horror movie. I think you'd probably like not try to make it funny. But I could see HBO being like, you know, 6-episode main series Gremlins, you know, and like having it being like, you know, modern day America with Instagram and all these
After
things.
dark.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you want to hear a hot take since you mentioned Instagram? I think Mogwai is a symbolism of the internet. Remember when the internet, on the dial-up, everything was nice and pure, and you could go on there and everything would be cool. And then all of a sudden, somewhere along the lines, I want to say around like 2000, everything got dark. People started exploiting other individuals. There was a lot of dark web activity, black hats,
Interesting.
or you know what I mean? Like something good, something that, could have been educational and informative, and you could just get free stuff. Now, all of a sudden, you got all these laws and regulations sprouting up out of nowhere. I think it's a great parallel. Cautionary tale.
Social commentary, right. That's why we call it cautionary tale. Yeah. Social commentary within the Gremlins movie. Okay. I like it. I like where you're sticking with that. All right. Next question. This is my last one too. So what happens to the Peltzer family after this is all over?
Wow, that's a good one. Honestly, I think they have to leave the town. I think that
they gotta leave the town.
Nobody wants them around there no more. You bring in all this stuff here, and utter chaos follows you. You gotta go. We had this nice.
How many lawsuits are they facing from the town?
We had this nice thing going on, and then you bring this crazy what's it thing, and now people are dead because of you.
Like I was thinking about that. At the end of this, I'm like, I know in the next movie, like it's all good and Billy's in the city and he's married to Kate and everything and whatever. But I'm like, hold up, they had to go to jail for this, man. They're facing major lawsuits in that town.
No, that's why Billy went to New York. He left. You know what I mean? He left that spot. Couldn't stay in the falls no more. They were like, yo, you got to leave time zones.
Yeah.
You gotta go.
Look,
you gotta go east.
Are you serious? Like, yo, you're responsible for the death of at least a dozen people. Property damage galore, like
millions of dollars.
Nightmare fuel for every child that lives in the town.
Yeah, like the trauma and the psychological. Come on, dude.
That's it. All right. Yeah,
but that leads to one of your questions though before that I'll make into a statement. It's totally irresponsible of the dad to give this to a child.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's so crazy. But I mean, that's what the point. That's what the Asian dude's question. That Mr. Wing, right? That's his name, Wing.
Yeah.
That was his. That was the point. Like you can't handle it, and he was right. You can't. No, you can't handle the Bagua, man. But yeah, but
you cannot.
They would definitely do multiple life sentences in jail. All of them, Maybe the mom could get off because she's kind of a little bit outside of it, but definitely Rand Peltzer is going to jail. He's doing a lot. He's doing multiple bids, multiple life sentences. Yeah. Billy might get out, when
on good behavior
in his 80s. he might get out when he's 80. All right, man. So that's that, man. Let's go to the popcorn. How many boxes of popcorn you giving this one, man?
Oh man, this is classic, yo. I'm going 5. That all gourmet boxes.
All gourmet boxes. Cool. I'm going to give it 4. It's interesting, man. Like I said at the beginning, it's in that horror comedy genre. I don't think that's like my favorite genre of movie, so that's probably dimming it a little bit for me. Also, like, it came out the same day as Ghostbusters. And Ghostbusters, as I've gotten older, I still like Ghostbusters more than I like Gremlins. Even though I liked Gremlins when I was a kid, but as I get older, I look back at it and it doesn't do it as much for me. Like maybe.
No, I'm the complete opposite of
so you like Gremlins more than Ghostbusters?
Yeah, okay. And to be honest with you, the crazy part about it is this is the first time I've seen Gremlins since like 1984.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Okay.
I haven't seen this joint. Yeah. I didn't see it at all in the past 20. Yeah, man. Like, no.
I've watched it. I've probably watched it 2 or 3 times in the last few years.
Wow.
Because I wanted to introduce it to my daughter and to my nephew, and so they got a chance to see it. And I got a chance to see their reaction to it, and
reaction
and as I said, they were not impressed, but that's how. That is what
comes
with
territory.
So I got one more question, and like now that you kind of think about it, like should there have been a sequel?
Yeah, they were on the hype, and so you got to strike while the iron's hot. So I get the premise, but at the same token, where do you go with it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, do you like really delve into the lightheartedness, or do you go dark and gloomy and utter destruction?
Yeah. And I thought I think with Gremlins 2, they tried to make it more funny. Like that one, I think they tried to be much more comical with it.
Yeah, I agree.
And that that one wasn't scary at all. That one was straight
No.
comedy to me. It's interesting because one of the things I was reading was that the writer wasn't actually as happy with the second one, which is why they wanted to do a third one. But so far no go, man. But anyways, let's hit with the summary, man. I'm sorry.
Yes. So to wrap things up, folks, the film's underlying message cautions against irresponsible consumerism and the unforeseen consequences of breaking rules. Despite their mischief, the Gremlins manage to embody a certain charm that endears them to audiences. The narrative cleverly juxtaposes the serene Christmas setting with the mayhem unleashed by these malevolent forces. Gremlins remains a beloved film for its ability to combine fright and laughter, making it a timeless holiday staple for those who appreciate a good dose of mischief and merriment.
There it is, man. And so next week, we're continuing with our Christmas movies themes, man. So next week, we'll be back with Reindeer Games. So
yes,
that's another one, an oldie but a goodie. So we'll be back to talk about that.
Ben Affleck in the house.
Ben Affleck in the house once again. That's his second or third movie we've done with Mr. Affleck in it. But listen, once again, the Sticky Floors podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify Podcasts, and we are on YouTube. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, please like, subscribe, and share. And comment too, because your comments will help us to figure out how to do this better. If there's some movies that you want to see us do, drop them into the comments, and we will definitely do them for you. Peace.